Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Any Key. Oh my goodness, no matter how many times we do it, it always feels like the first time. This is the show, the esports show, where we discuss news and culture going on that affects you guys. So, as always, I'm your host, Draken. I am joined by my fantastic co host, Alan Lafleur,
Hello.
and Navneeta.
Hello.
Yeah, see, I called you Navneeta this time. Are you proud? Are you
Pardon?
I called you Navneeter this time. This is what you wanted.
Wow.
Isn't this what you wanted?
Yes.
All right, guys, how are you this episode?
Doing great.
It's fantastic. I'm glad you guys are back for. I think it's our ninth episode. It's finally we hit this like stability curve where we got this kind of down packed, and the hosts have stabilized. But I think this is it. This is it. This is we're on the tarmac running. So, any updates with everybody before we jump into our show?
You want to go, Nav?
No.
No.
No? Okay. No, I mean, it's been a pretty, lazy week. So, happens every now and then, right?
I wish I get those. Alan, so lucky. Please give
Yeah.
Lazy Week.
Oh, no. No, it's going to bite me.
You think so?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, what's been going on over at esports careers?
We're, just slaving away at trying to get esports business back up and running.
Oh, is it a joint venture between esports
Yeah,
careers and oh,
we're building a network. Um, and man, it's I think it's going to be great. The team is fantastic. We're going to do some really cool things with it. So I'm hoping we can launch that soon. Um, and esports career continues to get great job listings up there from reputable companies. So
I
check it
noticed
out.
I noticed the Twitch posting popped up on there. That was
Yeah,
exciting. I don't know if you've
yeah.
had Twitch postings before, but that was definitely something I was like, oh, Twitch.
Twitch, ESL.
I noticed there was a trig trig posting up there.
Yeah, there was a trick, and I mean we're still a startup, so and there's going to be some growing that has to be done for sure. But I think it's coming along nicely.
I think so. I've submitted a few postings myself, so I've gotten some interesting responses. I think that's if let this be a lesson to anybody out there. If you're going to send an email responding to a job posting, attach the resume.
Yes,
Really?
Yeah,
please do that,
I just have to put that
and a
down.
cover letter.
You know what? If your
And
email
maybe your
is
name.
if your
That
email
would
is
do.
succinct
Yeah.
enough, you know what? You can forego the cover. I'll be okay with the cover, but the resume is kind of, lets me know, right? Lets you know
Right.
what to expect. So, Nav, I guess nothing exciting with you.
Same old.
Oh, you're so boring. Meh. So okay, so perfect. Let's jump into critical update. Critical update. All right, so this is the critical update. Basically, is where I give you guys the audience what's going on in the ES Champ community. Just give you an update on what's happening, events. Very much right now, the first thing to happen is this weekend is the Dota Elite Series Cup 3. Is the reason why this is so important to the ES Champ community is because we've moved into a fancy new venue, Hunter and Lucas Esports Club, 8,900 square feet of awesome, 100 computers, and you know what? It's actually going to be the biggest Dota LAN that we've had since LAN Nation. So we it's actually an exciting time because we had the qualifiers. So check out eschamp.com for all the VODs, and we knocked out 16 teams signed up. We whittled it down to 8 teams, and now the 8 teams will be attending the LAN. We probably could have gotten on 16 teams, but we decided to go 8 conservatively, make sure that we have, don't sort of go crazy with this venue. So we're going to see what happens. That's happening this Saturday. Be sure to check out the stream here on this channel, twitch.tv/eschamp, and starts at 11 a.m. Eastern.
How many people are you expecting?
For the event,
Yeah, aside from players, like spectators.
I think a total, since it's combined with the Dota 2 social, it's going to be, I'm hoping we're going to get about spectators in and out. But for players, it'll obviously be the 40 players.
Hmm.
So I'm hoping we're gonna have a pretty solid day
What's the
of
foot
Dota.
traffic of the venue?
That's the thing. It's a new venue for us, so we
Yeah.
don't. I It's hard for us to say. It's out by Yorkdale, which is not downtown. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens for us. That's why I was like, for it's a big testing ground. It's 100% testing because we wanted to know if Hunter and Lucas is going to be the ideal venue for us to move Torcraft to as well. Because we have Torcraft, and is it the ideal venue to move the other events that we do to? Its infrastructure is good.
Hmm.
I love what they got there for the infrastructure. Uh, it's a matter of can we make this partnership work, right? You know me, I am a huge proponent of local grassroots events and growing the local scene. So for me, if we can, and our local scene has been very good to us. I've been very excited about being able to hold these regular tournaments and having our local scene come out onto it always on a repeat. So it's something that I would like to see, like Hunter and Lucas become our home venue, and we can go from there. But we're gonna find out this Saturday. So
It'd be cool if somehow you guys made this like a qualifier for Canada Cup. In the future. For
the thing is though, I thought about that too. Canada Cup doesn't do lands; it's all online,
it is, yeah.
and it's and
But it's usually prestigious North American teams.
true.
Prestigious.
Yeah, like I use the quote, tier two.
Yeah.
It's tier, the tier two, or I guess tier one North Americans and tier two North American teams.
Right.
So, um, one of the things is our prize pool is actually higher than their prize pool.
Is it really?
Yeah. So
Wow.
each qualifier we have, because our cup, the actual how the Elite Series cups work is each tournament has a cup for our large tournament in the summer called Land Nation, and each cup grants points and it grants prize money. So each cup is worth $1,500, and the finals is worth 7.5. So we have 5 cups total. That's math. Help me. For I guess about 15K total. I guess roughly over the entire season. We decided to spread it out like that. That way, players can earn money leading up to the main event, and uh, it wasn't all just top heavy. So
Sure. Cool.
Land Nation did really well last year. We got about 14 to 16 teams. I think it was 16 teams, but then we two of them dropped out, so 14 teams came straight to the LAN. And that was just for the first year. So I'm expecting a lot better for this year come up. So it's going to be exciting. Dota does really good for us. Um, oh, and I think Nav died. So we're going to
Yeah.
continue while she figures her internet and not doesn't live on a potato, because that always could happen. It's funny how it's like if you look on the stream, her face is just frozen, like in this half sleep mode, and it's a question of whether or not we should have screenshotted that and suddenly used it. Oh, I think she's back. Nav, are you back?
I'm back. Yeah, it's really windy right now.
Is
So
your internet connected to like an antenna?
no.
like,
But I am like the last division of houses before it becomes like farmland. So I don't have what is fiber optics?
I could say it's like, what does the
Yeah.
wind have to
So,
do with your internet? I don't understand.
no,
Is
I
it like
mean like
cup and string?
whenever there's like weather, something always happens.
On that note, let's move to the next topic. So, let's go. Moving over to Upvote. Interesting, guys. This is going to be a fantastic discussion on Upvote, is where we saw something on Reddit and we thought we should talk about it. First off, leading with Heroes of the Storm gets an announcement, or a release, I guess. It's an announcement of a release. June 2nd, are we looking at?
Yeah, June 2nd or 6th, something like that.
Around there.
Yeah.
It's early June, essentially. The internet seemed to meet it with a very tepid response. A lot of people are just like, meh.
Well, okay.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay, from what I've seen, it was kind of
yeah. Um. So when a game like this goes into release from an open beta, but it's already selling stuff inside the game, and there's not going to be a wipe. So what does that really mean? How is it actually a release? Um, the only way I think it's a release, from what I understand,
Hold on.
is that
There's not gonna be no wipe. There's no wipe.
there's no wipe, no wipe. Um, but so from what I understand, I've never been a game reviewer, but I just kind of heard
You
about
play one on
this.
TV.
I play one on TV, and I did sleep at a Holiday Inn Express last night. But no, I think this means that game reviewers can now review the final game and give it ratings and stuff like that. So that's really what a release means, which then will bring in people to the game if the reviews are good. I think the reviews will be good. You don't, but I
No,
do.
you know my stand on Heroes of the Storm. I have been beaten this to death. Is that I don't think it's gonna be an esport. Like I think it's gonna be and I know you guys can all crucify me. That's fine. I think that Heroes of the Storm is.
Got the hammer and nails right
Oh my
here.
god! I think Heroes of the Storm is just propped up by Blizzard right now. I don't think a healthy scene is gonna develop from it. I really, really don't. You know why? Because there hasn't been any other organizers other than ESL. ESL has.
That's not
What
true.
else? Who else has been running Heroes of the Storm tournaments other than like
Um,
I mean, okay, so I should quantify that. Like relevant tournaments, I should say.
what's your Okay, so
Prize money.
the,
Let's
the
switch
way
to
the
dollars.
way we have to actually look at this is not by if it's a relevant tournament in like League of Legends standards currently or
No, we
Dota
can't.
standards like that. We had to
The scale.
qualify it by how if this would have been a relevant tournament
To the
when
to
League of
the
Legends was in beta.
right. Sure, we can say that. Like,
And they
let's.
have a lot of those actually.
You think so?
Oh yeah, there's Kings of the Storm, which is a weekly tournament. There's of course a plethora of
Okay,
ESL
okay, okay,
leagues.
okay, okay. Hold on. Like,
Um,
let me add a stipulation though. It has an offline component. So
okay,
I'm talking
yeah,
about dream hacks. I'm talking about like
there's a DreamHack tournament this at Bucharest.
there's a Heroes of Storm tournament at Bucharest.
Yeah.
How much is the prize money? Is
Oh,
like
I
Let's look it
forget.
up.
like I
It's
want to know if DreamHack is serious about it. That's all I'm curious about because
well, I mean,
when Hearthstone came out, they got serious about Hearthstone. Like DreamHack was like, we'll put some money behind this, and that's what I mean. Hearthstone, like
when it came out, I mean, not when it was still in the beta. I don't think, right?
Mm, I can't actually say whether or not that's true. So I'm going to leave that as maybe you're right. Maybe they did when it did come out, they were like, okay, now we'll put money behind it. Um, but I can feel like games like Dota, when Dota was in beta, people put tournaments together still.
Yeah, yeah. And Dota had a very interesting, lineage, I guess is the way to put it.
Okay.
A lot of the players were coming over from Han, which, back then was pretty much a direct port, right? And then, from the Dota All Stars. So, like,
Like,
there was already a tournament scene there. Let's put it that way. There was already
so you're saying that Dota 2 inherited
yeah, absolutely. And League of Legends didn't have many lands until probably season 2. Um, I mean, they had like World Cyber Games season 1, but that was really about it.
I like
So
for me it's like when organizers such like ESL is I'm going to say the exception because ESL right now has a very strong relationship with Blizzard hands down
yeah,
that Blizzard basically says please run our games and ESL's like meh sure why not
well,
right
they'll run anything,
they'll run it that's what I mean like they'll run anything that boots up right out of
pretty much.
so that's a no brainer. I'm talking about the other organizers. Let's ESWC, DreamHack. So you told me DreamHack. So that's
It's a ten
that's
thousand
good.
prize pool, by the way.
10,000 for
Euros.
okay, but for 5 people,
Yeah,
first,
I
second,
mean,
third,
they're not
that's
quitting their jobs. Well, some of them are
no.
quitting their jobs, but
Well,
that's
Hearthstone
mostly
is 10,000 US dollars, and that's one person.
Okay, so per
Dota is
person.
110.
Oh,
So
so per person, Heroes actually pays out the least.
yeah, and
sure,
Counter Strike
and
is
it should.
150.
You think so?
Absolutely. At this stage of the game, it should pay out the least.
Okay, fair
It's
enough. It's
it's
not
not
even.
even released,
You're right. You're right. No, you're right.
released or whatever. But like
Okay, but you're right. Let's not. We won't go into knocking it until it's come out. Mike,
right.
the real point of discussion is right now. Are people hyped for it? Are
I
we are we gonna get hyped for it? Are people anyone getting hyped for this
I
game?
am. I'm hyped for it, but I mean, because it's gonna mean that they're they're ready to release a stable game. So that means good things are coming in the next couple months, right? That means probably 3 more heroes will be released. And Kel'Thas is one of them. Yay.
Did we
Um,
actually pronounce that name right? Isn't it Kel'Thas? I don't
maybe. I don't know.
What did you call Jaina earlier?
It's Jana. It's
No.
Jana
No, it's not.
Bradmer. It's
No, it's
Jana
not.
Bradmer. Oh my
Um,
god, I've been calling her that since I was a youngling, man.
I'm going to throw you out the window.
Okay, all right, all right.
just call her Yo Shawty. There you go.
Oh,
um,
oh my god. Okay, but okay. In all questions though, with Heroes of Storm coming out, we're just writing off of the ESPN. Is Heroes of the Dorm done yet? I don't. No,
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 it
it's not done.
finishes
No.
this weekend.
Okay, so
Yeah,
Heroes
it's
of the
on
Dorm.
Sunday.
Heroes of the Dorm is finishing up, and I kind of wish that we actually I set the discussion about television in esports, but we're not going to go too deep into it because I wasn't very happy about the whole not being able to watch it being in Canada.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
feel like the whole ESPN thing killed the experience, but
Well,
that'll be a whole discussion on Blizzard. I think meddling a bit in their own esport, but
In their
versus
press release for Heroes, they said something about like they'll announce details later, so maybe
yeah.
they'll fix it for the finals.
so
Well,
that
it's
that
gonna be on an actual ESPN channel. It won't just be on the like ESPN 3 or Watch ESPN. I think it's gonna probably be on ESPN 2.
we're going up in numbers, boys. Here.
Wow.
But I mean that's a broadcasted channel. So, but
I,
I,
I wish we would stop chasing television. I really do.
I do too.
I wish we would stop. I wish we would stop saying television dictates esports, and instead of saying esports dictates television, we'd be like, listen, if you want to broadcast our show, if you want to broadcast our show, I know it doesn't. I know the actual discussions can't go like that. Because ESPN would be like, what the fuck? I don't really, oh, I shouldn't even swear on my own stream. But it's like, what the hell? I don't really. We don't need you. We don't need you. We can do whatever. But it should be like, listen, we got X amount of concurrence, X amount of viewers, and if you want this younger demo, because I think they need us more than we need them at this point, because we have the demo. They want the demo. Their demos are aging, right? So,
yeah, I agree with that. The advertising fill rate is still better on TV.
oh,
There's
absolutely.
that.
It's not even. I don't even think it's the fill rate. I think it's the actual CPM is just
Oh yeah,
just
yeah.
like astronomical, like 4 times over, 10 times over CPM for like a Twitch stream. Absolutely, hands down. But at the same time, we got the demo, right? So you're like, do you want
Sure.
the demo? Do you not want the demo?
But that I mean, like, I think that's yeah, bing bing. But um, so I think the game's gonna come out. I think it's gonna be really well. It's well made. It's a very well made game. Now, whether it captures your attention or not, that's a personal opinion, right?
Agreed. Agreed.
For me, it's perfect because I like the MOBA genre, but I don't have a ton of time to play. It's rewarding, and I've always been a team-based player. So, Blizzard, this is a paid advertisement, right?
Listen, they don't sponsor this show, so they can't get those kind
Maybe they
of like.
sponsor him though.
Oh, I got it.
Oh.
Oh, exposed. We figured it out.
I saw at the bottom of the press release that they said that they were looking for people to fill jobs. So,
Does it actually say
are you,
press release?
yeah. With multiple games in development, Blizzard Entertainment has numerous positions currently available. Visit their link for more information to learn how to apply. Direct them all to Alan.
Including community shill, but
Community show position.
but one interesting piece of news that came out in the past day or so was a market analyst said that League of Legends will of course keep the lion's share of the MOBA genre, like
Right.
66% over the next 18 months.
18 months is all they're giving it?
They said probably beyond that, but 18 months is all they're willing to put, their
Okay.
credibility on.
Fair enough.
Dota 2 has 33%, something like that. No, no, not no.
I feel like
Dota 2 is like
has-
20% or something like
What?
that.
No.
No, seriously.
No way. Are we talking about viewership? Or talking about like
No, we're
actual
talking
people
about
playing?
player base.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's true. Maybe that's true. I might.
But the real shocker was Heroes of the Storm is projected to be 7%, while Smite, which has been out a lot longer, um, my cat is freaking out, but uh, Smite that's been out a lot longer is only at 2%.
Really? Hmm.
Yeah,
I thought
uh,
Smite was doing well. You
it
know,
is doing well.
I
I mean, you can do well at 2% of whatever the market of the mobile market. I mean, it's a big market.
maybe I'm just underestimating, or maybe I don't have that scope since I'm not really a super MOBA player. I think I don't have the scope of what it is. I just thought Smite was catching. Like I felt like they were catching up because they moved to Xbox. I said, "Wow, that's really going to open up your player base." Um,
Maybe. Um,
and this is going to be it. But I it could be totally be this point where League of Legends is that big. Like it is. Like
it's
I know
it's a juggernaut. I
like I
mean,
know
it
it's
really
big, but I
is.
don't think I personally grasp. Just because I don't know if it's just me, but I feel really uncomfortable being at a League of Legends actual event because everyone's just like 3 times younger than me, and
Grandpa
Yeah,
esports.
I
you're
just
so old.
I just feel like I'm like ooh, I don't know.
Yelling at all the kids, get off my esports,
My
and
esports lawn,
yeah,
Yeah, you were
shoot.
yelling at us last week to get off your esports
my
lawn.
esports lawn. Okay, so let's move on to the next item. This is one I'm really really excited to talk about. Very recently, Coca-Cola, speaking of League of Legends, Coca-Cola says they're back. They are now sponsoring the LCS, I think LCS
Yes,
2015
the summer
circuit,
split, I think.
summer split.
Yeah.
But we're not specifically to focus on that. What this, since we always like to be a discussional show, what does this mean? Two things, actually. Two things. Let's
That I still don't have personalized Coke, and I tried ordering it and I couldn't because, and it, yeah, I just didn't send because states.
does it say you put Navneet on a Coke?
I
Is
tried,
it because
but
it's too long and it doesn't accept those kind of characters?
no, it was like, sorry, we only ship to the states.
Rude.
Ship it to my friend's house and make him bring it to me.
Is it really worth it?
It
Okay.
is. I've done that before.
You're so dedicated to Coke. Oh, can't even.
I mean, no, not to Coke, to like other things.
Oh.
Like, hi, I'm going to ship this to your house. Is that okay? Okay. See you
Okay,
when I see you.
so Coca-Cola back in esports. Two things. Main question here is why did they even leave? Right. Obviously, we have Coke Zero versus Coke Proper because that's actually the biggest news is that Coke Proper is sponsoring the LCS before it was Coke Zero. And the second thing is, does this mean that other blue chip companies will follow?
um, hmm.
Let's start with the first part. Alan, you must at
Yeah.
least know where did they go? Why did Coca Cola leave us?
Well, I was trying to find the actual reason, and it's here somewhere. But
All right, Nav, speculate while Alan searches through the interwebs about why Coca Cola left.
Uh, because cats.
You know what? One of the things.
No, I feel like maybe the two organizations couldn't settle upon an agreement for the next round of their sponsorships or
Yeah,
something like that.
no, I think that's a solid question. I think one thing's when you think about sponsorship is if you're doing well in a sponsorship, you renew, right? And then most
Yeah.
major sponsorship clause has it that uh, it's auto renewed, like first right of refusal, whatever have you. And I didn't even really think I saw another sponsor take
no.
Coke's place. Like I'm pretty
No.
sure Coke was just like we're done, and then LCS is like, well, whatever, man. We don't really need you. It'd be good to have you, but do whatever. Um,
Um,
Well, like Pepsi
so
could have swooped in.
who?
Pepsi.
Could you imagine?
That'd be so funny if they did. But like then Pepsi could use like any one of their little brands, like Gatorade.
Well, I think that's what.
okay, I found it.
All right, all right.
Um, the main guy of esports at Riot, Redbeard, can't remember his actual name, said, as for lack of sponsors, we are extremely picky with sponsors that we want to work with, and the educational process for non-endemic brands, which is exactly what they're wanting to go for, takes time to understand what esports is and where it is going. I'm not gonna read the rest. But
No, no. I think
the
that's weird though, isn't it? Like, is it really that hard now to teach non-endemic brands about esports?
yes,
I would have said that 5 years ago, even 2 years ago, maybe I would have said that. But like, the international pretty much blew apart anybody's perception.
no,
You think so? Oh my
no,
god.
because you're still dealing with the older demographic that are making decisions within marketing.
Yeah, but these
And
people still read the Wall Street Journal. Like, they read.
Well, if you
okay,
recall
so
Daily Mail and their article about cosplay and stuff, I don't think that's really selling esports the right way it should be sold.
don't diss Draken and his cosplayers.
I would listen. One day, I used to have a harem of cosplayers on this show, and they're gonna come undebatable.
A harem. But I I think if you want to use the Wall Street Journal as credibility, sure, you can do that. But like, then you have to, if we're gonna do that for credibility with esports, so you have esports that has one or two articles a year in the Wall Street Journal, and then you have every other entertainment industry that probably has about 100.
Okay, fair enough.
So I mean, it's not there yet. You're dealing with a bunch of 50, 60-year-olds that make marketing decisions for these big non-endemic brands. I've always been of the opinion that you don't go after the big non-endemic brands. You go after the startup companies that have just gotten a lot of funding and whose demographic is exactly what esports is looking
Are
for.
you talking about like tech? Are you
Yeah,
talking tech?
yeah, I'm talking tech.
That's an interesting path. I can't really disagree because it makes sense. Because yeah, they got a lot of money and they're generally run by younger people, so they're more open to you know.
And at the beginning, they're just looking for users, right?
True, true.
So that normally means it's either really cheap or free.
Mm,
And a lot of these gamers that League of Legends follow League of Legends because they first started playing it because it's free. It matches the same type of way that they see the world. They see the world as, okay, I want to play this game. I want to experience this because it doesn't cost me anything to experience it, and if I like it, I just continue to experience it. And
I mean,
that's that.
that's Silicon Valley's like mantra.
Yeah, yeah, right. So, I think that's the way to go. But what Riot's trying to say here is, if this is actually the truth, okay, and that's a big thing to do. It's like, take all this with a grain of salt because they could just be saving face.
True.
But
Coke had been like, screw this, we're done.
Right, Coke could have been like, "Look, we liked working with you guys, but it certainly wasn't at the price point that you set it at." Or Riot could have been like, "Look, we want to explore other options. We want to see if we can do this without actually a sponsor."
Could you imagine
Uh,
if Riot was just like, dust off Coke? They'd be like, listen,
I
it
no, I
was
You
fine.
don't
can't.
need to.
That's the
Uh,
thing. I
independent.
can't.
Could you? But I would that conversation would be abs. I would pay real money to
Yeah,
see that conversation happen in the Riot office. They call Coke down, fly them down, and they say, look, it's just not working. It's me, not you. You
it
know.
sounds like a it sounds like a terrible CNBC reality show. But like, no, I've never heard of any company, especially a tournament, like turn down money. So especially if it's a lot of money with a company that only brings credibility to your tournament. Um, so no, I don't think this is like, I don't think they're saying everything that's true here. I think maybe there was some element to this that is true, but probably more than likely Coke wanted to come in at a smaller price point, and Riot didn't want to budge, and then they didn't get anything else and said, all right, we'll budge.
So actually, one maybe you can help clarify. Someone in the Reddit thread asked if Coke has been sponsoring the Challenger series for a few years. Wasn't it only like 2 years, maybe? Like I don't. Coke's
Challenger
Wasn't it like
Series is
20?
it only can't the Challenger Series didn't start until season 4 really. So it was only a year.
Interesting. All right. So, the second part of this discussion is, what does Coke mean for the rest of us in esports? We all can't be League of Legends, but does this mean, or do any of you guys speculate that Pepsi is coming on board, or does this seem like this is a one-off thing that we're still in the endemic sponsor region, and pulling someone like a Pepsi or Procter and Gamble is still too far out of reach for us?
I think they'd have to have someone like Young on their marketing team kind of
Someone to challenge it.
telling them about it, and then that would put like the idea in their mind. But otherwise, I feel like they might not even see this if it's like the older demographic.
I don't
Um,
know. It's one of these
just like
things.
kind of moseying along with life and not seeing this part of it. Because like I still always have to explain what esports is to people of like all different ages. But
Do you
people
really
within
like?
my demographic are like, oh yeah, like I've seen something of that, or oh my boyfriend plays that. So, um,
But usually,
the,
right now, I feel like a lot of these people in the older demographic have kids, and these kids
but
play
the kids aren't old enough yet to play either.
in the.
Or if
Sometimes
they are, they don't pay enough attention.
true.
I've had a lot of conversations with the older, okay, more the 40s. I haven't gone into the people talking to people in 50s and 60s. I don't really talk to them on a regular. It's not an ageism thing. It's just, they just never cross my path.
Well, I guess
See,
for me, it's like my friends' parents are like, yeah, 50s and 60s, right?
Okay, it's more like people I
The
talk to
young
in the
parents probably
40s. They're
understand.
like, what? Oh yeah, my kid plays that game, or yeah, I've seen my son plays that Call of Duty thing, and he tries to make money off of it on game battle. Well, he doesn't say game battles, but like you get.
But do they know how viable that could be? Like trying to make money off of it?
I,
Probably not, because the kid probably doesn't explain it.
oh,
Well, then the
absolutely not.
parent thinks it's ridiculous, and
But
if that parent is like in charge of marketing for Procter and Gamble, they're like, no, I
but
don't want to
all
do.
all these people, these guys, and I'm bringing not even just the Wall Street Journal, but at least they've heard a hinkering of it in CNN. All the different stupid headlines. Kid makes millions of dollars playing video
Yeah.
games. Like they've heard those headlines more than often on
We
CNN.
also heard the
60
kid
Minutes.
dies
Oh, okay, yeah, they do
playing
have
video
that. Yes, they
games.
do have those stupid headlines too. Those are definitely.
Cosplayers.
No, it's not like cosplayers. These cosplayers are not killing esports. I refuse to believe it.
so the guy who does esports for Coke is actually really young.
Oh, of course he
Well,
is.
not really young.
Wait,
Young for executive level at a major brand.
are we talking
Um,
40s, 30s?
Probably. I think he looked like he's in his 30s. I might be totally
No.
off, and he's probably gonna send me hate mail and say, "Look, I am actually
$24.
I'm actually 25. I'm actually
Oh,
15, and I graduated from college early,
no,
really early. But um,
There's actually a kid at Mac graduating, and he's like 15.
can you do that? Graduate at 15?
if
Yeah,
you're
like he
really
skipped
smart.
all this schooling and stuff, and he's like biomedical engineer. So
All right, so tell us how.
Um, so I mean, Pepsi could eventually get in, but it just depends on what their marketing team's like. And Pepsi is really, and Coke is too, everybody is, but Pepsi very much so is about like engaging the fan bases at a very personal level.
Well,
And
they've been doing this kind of sponsorship for years. Like this isn't, you know.
right. So it's harder to do that in esports unless you're doing something with the LAN. And so maybe they get involved somewhere, maybe with the international or worlds. But if Coke is still involved, then they're not going to get involved there. So it just, I mean, Riot has done a lot to ease the mind of sponsors because Riot is so professional in the way they do things. And whether that is maybe professional to a
I,
fault.
I was gonna say,
And so, but it has helped ease the mind of these baby
they
boomers that are making these decisions.
they 100% have paved the way. Like I can't,
Yeah.
as much as I would like to. I'm not too keen on many
Well,
things in Riot. I do. They have done more for esports as a whole than really a lot of other people.
they paved the way for modern esports. I mean, there was, of course, you know, oh god, I'm about to give a bunch of people PTSD, but there was, of course, CGS back in the
Ah,
day. Yeah, everybody just triggered, but so, but like that was paving the way, like CPL, CGS, all that. Like it didn't even take a developer to do that. It just took entrepreneurs, right? So now that it's a developer doing it, is it a good thing, right? So if Riot gets out of it, what if Riot gets out of the LCS? What does that mean for League of Legends as an esport? What does it mean for Dota as an esport? Actually,
It's
Dota probably benefits, right? But
CG. You have to remember the things like I don't know how like CGS technically had endemic, I mean non-endemic sponsors before anyone,
yeah,
right? They had Mountain Dew. I totally remember.
direct they were directly broadcasted onto Direct TV, which was the fall of the whole thing. But anyway,
They also killed us, right?
you're right. Yeah. I
Is it
mean, they
Mountain Dew
had.
a Pepsi product?
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you're right.
I
So
think
Pepsi did have a venture.
I don't know. You sometimes you those sub brands are difficult to even. I don't know. Like when you talk about Monster, and because Monster is technically a Coke product.
Right, but I mean, it just depends on what brand you're pushing. It's not like Monster itself is sponsoring. No, it's actually the major company sponsoring, but they're
Yeah, but
just doing it under the Monster
Whose marketing
brand.
budget are you pulling from? And
Monster has its own marketing budget than say Coke.
Yeah,
yeah,
It's a different. It's a they have their own their brand managers, right? It's the brand managers themselves that make those kind of decisions, right?
right,
So
right, right. But I mean, it all trickles down, right?
I don't know.
It does. It
It
does.
trickles
Trust
down,
me.
but it doesn't trickle up, right? So if you
No.
say Monster is like, oh, we sponsored this, this, and this, like they sponsor stuff like X Games all the time, right? So their parent brands expect them to be all youthful and trying new things. But if when they bring their strong, their main brands, then that a whole bunch of people in a room say, okay, well, is this really worth what we need to do?
right.
Right.
So
So is Coke the final frontier of their?
well, that's what I mean. Like Coke, I think Coke is that. Okay, Coke is the final frontier, in my opinion, of non-endemic sponsors, next to Procter and Gamble. Right, in terms of beverage sponsors, Coke is probably the last and the final stop. Then you move sideways to Procter and Gamble. Who else is in this category of non-endemic mega sponsors?
Beer.
Visa, Mastercard, beer, beer. All the I don't know if beer can get involved in esports. That's a good question mark there. I don't know if they're allowed to do that.
Why
Uh,
not?
Who's Nestle with?
Nestle is Nestle. I'm pretty sure the Nestle
Okay,
Corporation is like.
Nestle, yeah, because then they have like all their chocolates and all that.
Yeah.
Mars. Mars has like 300 companies that it swallowed.
I'm pretty sure now Mars is owned by one of those major companies. I don't know if they.
No, Mars is its own thing.
Is it? Oh,
Yeah.
didn't know that. But yeah, I think like when you get into those kind of people, that's where you get to the major endemic sponsors where they don't use their sub lower brands or using their main brands.
And you asked a question at the beginning of all this. Does this, like, are we still an endemic sponsor based thing?
Yes.
Whatever we are. And yes, yes, we are.
The answer is
Uh,
yeah.
uh,
Well, we are.
uh, um,
Percent is endemic
and
sponsor. We can't get away
and
from.
we will be for a long time.
I think so too.
Non-endemics are only going to go to a few tournaments, unless really good marketing teams, advertising teams start reaching out to agencies and proving the worth of the smaller tournaments.
To be honest, though, it's actually and it's probably better we stay in them. Like majority of organizers of esports organizers, like let's say non Riot, non MLG organizers, don't have this. They don't have the. I don't. I'm going to say they don't have the knowledge of how to develop an ROI for a mega brand like Coke or or um or Nestle. Like I don't think they know to do the how to execute a sponsorship. It's not enough. It's not just putting your
Right. You
logo.
can't just slap a logo
You can't
on.
just slap a logo. That's not enough. Like to maybe to an endemic sponsor, they're like, you know what? Maybe I'll get some traffic to my site and get some few signups and I'll be happy and they'll
Yeah.
move on for the day. But to a Coca-Cola, they're like, give me the report. Like what's happening here, right? And how many people engaged with my brand? How many people were able to recall my brand after your event? Like these are the things that I don't think the average organizer can answer. But on that note, we're going to move on to the next and last part of this episode. You know what I love about this is we get some really good discussions going. I'm very happy about how we've taken the NA key and we get to talk about some interesting stuff. I get to talk this stuff by myself, and I just have these conversations alone. And now we have this show where I can talk to people.
So,
Wow.
did you just admit to being crazy?
The best people are crazy.
Yes, I'm borderline genius and crazy, right? It's just that's fortune in my life. Um, so let's welcome our guest, Marty, whose last name I didn't actually get before the show started. So that's obviously silly for me. From Follow Esports, Marty, come on down. Press.
My last name is actually Laser Chicken. In case you're wondering,
Oh, see,
Marty Laser Chicken.
Marty
Oh,
So
Laser
I thought it
Chicken.
was Marty Esports.
Yeah, that was Marty Esports too.
Esports is my married name, and Laser Chicken is
Oh,
my parents' last name.
Got
So
it.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
married into esports,
You
you might say.
married Esports.
oh,
Jeez.
Exactly.
I've been waiting to know.
Just don't tell my wife; she'd be very upset.
That might be a brutal divorce one day.
Honey, I'm sorry. I found a new one, a new lover. Who is it? It's esports.
She takes a bat to my computer.
I knew it.
You hussy! And she starts slapping the laptop with a bat. So let's. So Marty, you are the owner, founder of Follow Esports,
Owner and co-founder.
owner and co-founder. So I'm gonna take a guess that you did or didn't code the site.
I am the esports nut of the group and the business guy. So I'm very. I've worked in business for a long time.
So
I
you're
have
like me. Sweet.
Yeah, I mean, so I have a buddy who he's been building websites and doing video editing and stuff like that professionally for a very long time in New York City, and we got to talking about another one of my crazy ideas, which we always talk about, and never do. And I'm super passionate about esports, and I got very frustrated because I'd want to watch something, and I could never figure out when it would start, what stream it was on, where to get more information, unless it was pretty much like League of Legends, and even that's not perfect. There's very few things that were easy to get. So I said, why don't we try and put something together? And he's like this incredibly gifted designer who just has a really awesome taste for simple but very sleek. And it worked really well for the idea that we wanted to just accomplish something very simple. If you want to know what was on in esports, we'd have that. We weren't going to muddy it up with lots of other stuff. I think a lot of websites try to do a lot of things, and we just wanted to become the master of one instead of jack of all trades to start off with.
Oh,
So
I love
I
that
like that
design
approach.
philosophy. I
Yeah.
know. I was like, I like that design philosophy. I think so many people forget simplicity is key in most things. Uh,
and that's why he's really key as a designer. Like any of his other projects I look back on, they're very sparse, but not in a bad way. They just give you what you need in a very, like I said, very sleek way. And so when we set about to design the site, we said, what are the essentials we need to get out there? And of course, there's lots of cool things we're going to be doing. In fact, they're already coding tonight, I'm sure, working on some new stuff. But we needed to get the basics. What's on? How do I get to it? And how do I just get the basic details of an event?
so let's. I guess you kind of really covered my first question was the value proposition. Essentially, it's you want to find your event, right? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but like, tell me, is it that? Have I
Yeah, we're
picked
the
that?
TV guy. We're the TV guide of esports. That's our goal.
I think
So,
that's so cute that you guys use that branding. TV guide of esports.
well, I was listening to your conversation about the different generations and stuff, and I've done a lot of market research. I have a very clear understanding about what our demographic is, which is much larger than you'd think. In fact, 89% of U.S. esports consumers, 21 to 50 years old. So you wouldn't guess that, would you?
50, really? Wait,
20,
hold on.
89% of U.S. esports consumers are between 21 and 50.
Okay, hold on. That's not
But
that's not like one of those crazy ones that are released out in the consumer
No,
reports where they're like
this
where
is
they're
from
like
News. This is
when
the major report that came out this year on the global growth of
when
esports.
they say like 40% of all gamers are or
No, no,
women,
no. I
and
mean,
but they include like mobile games in that too, and it's like
did you know, like for example, the average age of a gamer, if we're not looking at esports, is now up to 35 years old.
yes, that I
I tell people that, it blows their mind. They're like, no, it's teenage boys. They're age 13, and it's like, well, no, it's almost half between boys and girls, and it's getting much older. I mean, I'd play Warcraft and raid with a 62-year-old and a 13-year-old, and
I guess when
everyone in
you're
between.
I guess when you're retired that happens a lot. You're like, well, forget fishing. I'll just go load up and do a raid instead.
Or a fishing
well,
game.
Yeah,
Or
sure.
think about it this
hunter
way.
win.
Well, I'm getting all serious. I'm sorry.
No,
But think of it this way. Like in the '80s was Atari, right? I think. Yeah,
late 80s, yeah.
late '80s. So in the late '80s, Atari was out. So anybody who was in their 20s back then, my cat is going crazy. Um, but anybody who was in their 20s back then are now in their 50s, 60s, right? If I'm doing math correctly.
Someone like
So of course that makes sense, right? Because they became gamers when they had Ataris. And so now you're starting to see that older demographic understand what gaming is. Jesus
And
Christ.
it's not even just that. So I have a neighbor who, a neighborhood where I grew up. I would guess he's probably 61, 62 now. He's not retired. He works full time. But his kids, they're 28, 29 years old, and they started playing World of Warcraft 8 or 9 years ago. And so he'd see them playing the game. He wanted to bond with his sons. Lo and behold, he's playing World of Warcraft. And even
Yeah,
after
I
they
did notice
long moved
that.
out of the house, they don't live there anymore. Every Sunday, he sits down at 6 a.m. with his cup of coffee, and you joked about fishing. That's what he does for 2 hours. He fishes in the game of World of Warcraft for 2 hours every Sunday while he drinks his coffee, and he loves it. He
That's
absolutely
awesome.
loves
I
it.
don't, I
So
don't know what even to say. Like, I guess.
Get the achievement in Dalaran and get all the coins.
he must have every fishing achievement by now, right?
Oh God. So okay, so let's just bring this back to the topic at hand. So, we've cruised around to your site and stuff, and it's obviously how old are we looking at for this site? How long has this site been around?
We launched 2 weeks ago,
Oh, wow.
and we started developing it in January, and really just kind of wanted to get ourselves a minimum viable product that as they say, something that's functional. Um,
Oh, that
and
I love
but
the minimum viable product.
yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people try to build what they think customers want, and they spend 6 months building it, and they put it out there, and customers go, "Well, we only wanted 10% of this in the first place, and so you wasted your time." So we say, you know what? Let's just build a minimum, and we already got a bunch of awesome feedback from Reddit, Twitter, you name it. People going, "That feature's awesome. That feature's missing." And what was really cool is we had set up this list beforehand of here are the things we think people are going to want, and it was like checking down the list. They want that one, that one, that one, that one. They were all things we thought they wanted, but we were able to go, wow, nobody thinks that's interesting. Um, People want this slightly different and stuff, and I'm glad we didn't put time into those things that we might have wasted our time on, pretty much.
Okay,
Hmm.
so talking about features, are you going to include talk shows? Or is this all tournament focused? Are you going to put us on there?
Well, we wanted to start again very focused, so purely esports broadcasted competitions. It doesn't mean we won't necessarily move into, for example, non-broadcasted. It doesn't mean we won't move into things like tournaments you can play, talk shows. It will focus on esports. So everyone goes, well, are you going to have Trump on there? Are you going to have these people who are just full-time streamers? And that is not our focus.
This is
The focus
tournaments.
is the games.
Our focus
And
is, if you think of it in terms of, you don't go to ESPN and see a listing for, I don't know, a show about HBO's, show Real Inside the NFL. You go and find the listing for the NFL game.
Okay.
And we're certainly not trying to be ESPN. I guess my point is that we want to be able to get people to the events itself.
Okay.
But
All right.
but at the same time, if you go to your whatever guide that is in your set top box or whatever you call them, you would see if you go to ESPN that in their broadcast schedule you have the sports shows like sports reporters and stuff like that. So maybe talk shows is a
Esports,
very
like esports related talk
Esports,
yeah
shows.
sure. I guess I
yeah
was saying that the difference between video games and talk shows, which sometimes people don't get, I'm sorry, video
right
Okay.
games and esports, where when Trump is in a tournament, I use him as an example because he's a huge following. That's esports. When Trump is playing on a stream and teaching people, that is gaming.
mhm.
absolutely
Absolutely,
yes.
And
definitely.
so we want to stay focused because again, there's an audience for esports. It's not like we're too focused that we're not going to have enough people. So
No, that's a healthy point. I'll pass this to one of my hosts, so I'm not the only one. Be like, I'm gonna grill you by myself, Alan or Nav.
Nav, you want to go?
um,
Nav has the best question asking voice. I like when she asks questions.
the way it is in my question log is just silly. Let's
It's
see.
because you're
So,
reading like your copy pastas that we just reading the copy pastas.
leave me alone. Sorry. Um, okay, so how has it been perceived by like all the different esports? Like, is the Dota community really perceptive to it, or the LoL community, or the StarCraft? Like, is there one that's really jumping at this?
Sure. So what was really interesting is because the communities are so separate in some ways. A lot of people have like that one sport they love. And maybe there's another one, but there is a fair amount of separation as far as participation. I guess I'd say maybe you watch a wide variety. Um, there were some huge surprises. StarCraft, Call of Duty, they were incredibly excited about this. And StarCraft was one where I thought, well, the WCS portal exists, but then you look, and it's still really
Schedule
kind of
writer.
poorly. you're like, it's just a big old list of stuff,
Oh
and
my
it's
God, it's so annoying. I
not
hate
sure
that.
what it is, and
I
Yeah.
hate that thing so
um,
much.
so StarCraft community was like, yeah, that's awesome, and the Call of Duty community was like, this is great because I don't want to just watch Call of Duty. I want to watch many things, but now I've got to check 9 different Reddits or
Yeah.
stuff like that. Communities I thought would be more receptive. I don't think there was one specific one. There were a few of them where it's hard to get their attention at first. Like maybe it doesn't get upvoted in Reddit or it doesn't go viral on Twitter, and it's only been 2 weeks, so we'll get there. We've had some awesome support from people who saw it and have huge followings and retweeted it, which is great. People like Olivia over at Blizzard and Chris Warcraft and a couple of the Counter-Strike and Call of Duty players who have larger followings, and that really helps obviously because they're not doing it because they're getting paid. They're getting it because they saw it and went, "This is awesome." And that's I think overall what's been exciting for us is I think I really did expect some this sucks, we hate this, why did you
Mhm.
bother kind of feedback. I mean, not because it's esports, but because any product faces that. And it's been overwhelmingly positive and kind of gives a value, makes it credible that we're doing this. So,
Well, you simplified it, so that makes a lot of sense.
I honestly,
Um,
I like the design. It's pretty. I think
yeah,
it's pretty.
it's clean. I like white space.
I'm a person who I choose things. Like I'm probably one of the worst people that like frustrate a lot of people because I buy things because I'm like it looks nice. I don't really care, but like it doesn't function. Like it's not.
but
You could buy this. I'm
we
like,
all do that. I don't know that we're all aware we do it. We
Yeah.
buy some. I mean, Apple's a great example. When they design something, there's a interesting phenomenon early in Steve Jobs where the circuit boards he wanted them beautiful inside, and you actually can't even open the computer back then. Like only an Apple technician can, so you'll never see it. But that kind of beauty and design went through the whole product, and people do buy Apple products because of the way they look, whether they know it or not.
Hmm.
all
I had a
right.
question about your filters. So
Mhm.
there's a start date and end date filter for the game and the event type. Are you gonna make a filter for region?
Ooh.
So in the beginning, we actually had more filters to start with, and we started looking at their functionality and going, who's going to use that one? Like a good example is we put prize pool up there, and we're like, no one's going to search for, I only want the ones that have 5,000 prize pool,
Yeah.
right?
You'd be
There's
surprised.
another way to filter out big events versus small events. It's
Right.
not necessarily a prize pool.
Good.
And in fact, we're already talking about that. How do you visually display things so that things differentiate a little more, right? When it's a community cup for 50 euros versus one that has that's DreamHack, something like that. I would say that specific one, I don't know if that's worse because we're still discussing it, if that one's one that's going to make it, but we're definitely hoping to make it more robust without it turning into some of those filters where you see it and it's a huge row and it's completely overwhelming. I like those. I like the example of a menu when you go in a restaurant. If
Yeah.
you go to the restaurant that has 12 pages, I don't even know what to eat, right? But if you have like a very short and simple one, there's something for everyone and it's easy to decide what you want and you're still satisfied when you're done.
Yeah.
So my question then comes down to when it comes to your filters. I like that you kept them very simple and clean. I think that's a great way to go. But I'm going to this could lead to two. So is this time zone related? So if I'm in the East Coast versus someone who's in the West Coast, will we see the proper time zones, or is this going to be like is this says it knows my IP is in the Eastern time zone and automatically shows all the tournament in Eastern, or
Mhm.
what's happening here?
Yeah, it's totally based on your computer's clock. It calculates it on the fly, and we immediately
Ooh,
got some
sexy.
feedback that we didn't think we'd get. I talked about how customers will ask you for things that you don't know that they want. They all want, "Can I set my time zone?" And we're like, "Really? We just made it really cool for you that you didn't have to do that." And people were like, "Well, but sometimes I don't want that. Sometimes I want, for example, the pros say when I'm traveling, I want to be able to answer a fan." With the time it's actually in their time zone, not it's this in
Oh,
Eastern and you have to figure it out yourself. Maybe that person's in Turkey and that's like, wait, what's the translation there for the time zone?
Right.
So that's something that we're already looking at all those ways for users to be able to adjust for their own experience. That's definitely high on our priority list is when one of you comes and you have A, B, and C you want, and another one of you comes and you want B, C, D, then your experience is different when you come. It's very customizable.
So even with customizing, will there be a way that you can like make a calendar and then export it somehow
You
so
know,
you know what's coming up?
I don't know for sure yet, because that's something someone brought up probably 4 or 5 days ago, and I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah.
Definitely thought of things like reminders or things like wanting to see maybe be able to mark things so you can look at the list of things you've marked and go, oh, okay, these are the things somewhere that I've specifically said I want to watch. But people said, can I put it in my Google Calendar or can I
Yeah,
pull it out of the system? So we have to kind of discuss that because. That's a big conversation. How does the site? How do we want people interacting with the site? Is always a good question, right?
I think
Right.
that when it comes to that, either a Google Calendar or you build in some sort of reminder system. Like I make an account and then it emails me. It says, "Hey, by the way, Draken, StarCraft Pro League is about to start in 20 minutes. Come up, and be sure to tune in." Like something like that. Like that's my personal thing. This is a bit of feedback on my end. Is that I don't remember. I like, oh, that's kind of cool. I want to see
Right.
that tournament, and I go off and do my life, and then. Someone's
Well,
like,
and
"Oh
I
my
think
God,
it's
did you see
different for
that?"
everyone too. Like you're going to check maybe Monday for an event on Wednesday, right? And maybe Alan hops on and he sees an event and watches it right now. And so that's a balance we have to constantly strike is how do we make it right for the person who wants to schedule out their week or look in advance, as well as the people who we get a lot of people who are on the site for a very short time because they get in, they find what they want to watch, they click the link and it takes them right to what they're watching. So definitely something we're aware of, and I don't have a good answer yet because we've been live 2 weeks. But certainly, I've been excited to hear all this feedback because it gives us something to work
We're
with.
gonna grill you,
What
so
what
get prepared.
what are your, do you have any plans to like include VODs of completed tournaments on the site or
Uh,
um
That's
like
another one we got asked recently, and I like that idea. I'll be honest; it's exciting to say I didn't think of that because I'm not the smartest person in the world, and I don't have every idea. And someone said that, and I was like, "That's a really good idea. I wonder how we could do that." So we have been discussing. I think it was if oddly it was Dustin Browder who brought it up. He said to us, "Hey, I
Really?
don't." Yeah, he said I don't get to see everything live all the time because I'm working. Sometimes I want to go pop back and catch an event, afterwards.
Like a little
yeah
PBR going on here?
So much
he
Blizzard
just
PR today.
he couldn't fix the problem by putting rocks there, so he just
Oh,
But yeah, no, I
I'll be
mean,
here all week.
I, I
I
would
have a
say
fairy dragon.
I'm totally aware of that we're not going to think of all those things and there's going to be awesome ideas like that I'm going to go, that's a cool one. We can definitely do that and let's figure out a way to incorporate it.
Right.
Um,
how do you guys
I,
adjust for like late tournaments? Um,
That's a challenge. Right now we're actually so right now it's when the tournament starts, it goes live, right? So it shows watch now instead of stream, and then at the end of the day, the tournament goes off, right? So the end of your day. So if you're East Coast, midnight your time, and of course the first thing that we noticed is when the I live on the East Coast, and when China League of Legends starts at midnight, it's live all day long on my stream, right? And that's a problem because at 9 p.m. it's still the first item on the list. So that's very high in our priorities to solve that so that I think on Saturday of this week we had 18 individual events listed. It means by 9 p.m. at night you were scrolling through probably 16 things that already ended. And so we want to improve that experience. I'm all about the end user. Like that's the most important to me is people come and they want to come back again.
Right.
so one of the things that I look at this, and you obviously have, I know of one competitor, and since you have a team of more than just you, my question is, how do you how do you monetize this in a way that you guys can make this your living?
That's a great question. And in fact, we've been, slowly we've been building a company here. I'm based in Rochester, New York, and there's a great budding tech scene here because a lot of these smaller cities want to get on what Silicon Valley has going on and try to revive entrepreneurship. And so we're getting a lot of support from them in figuring out how to fund in the beginning when we aren't going to have a lot of money, but we're seeing steady growth. Every day we're seeing new users on the site, and yeah, it's only been 2 weeks, but that's still exciting. No days with zero new users or 5 new users. But I kind of believe in the model of if you get the users, monetization is easy. There's a lot of avenues you can go. If you have thousands of people visiting your site every single day, there's a number of different avenues, whether it's sponsorship or I guess I'll say this: there's so many possibilities. I won't pin us down to one right now because it's so far in the
I
future.
think right now this is a growth stage. You're in more of a customer acquisition part.
Yep.
So it's only 2 weeks, so customer acquisition. But if you were to say that you had, like one idea of monetization. Obviously you're not going to stick to it, and obviously it's not
Mhm.
going to come to the site. But what would you think? And please don't say ads.
No, I mean, so there's certainly, I mean, ads is something that in the beginning, when I'm not going to lie, when I first started building the site, I was like, okay, we'll pop an ad here, here, and here, and my designer's like, that's so ugly. Can we get rid of
That's to say,
that?
nothing can kill the
Because
beauty of this thing
I'm
faster.
the business person, right? So I'm thinking of it from how do we grow a company? But I was like, you're right. That's why I have you. That's why you're a great designer. So we started talking about things like, well, sponsorships are always an opportunity. Those can be done in a very slick fashion that don't have to be hideous, ugly ads.
True.
But I think there's also the opportunity for we all think of the fan end of things, where we're dealing with that's who's coming to the site. But all these great event producers out there are going to want things like there's lots of data in the system eventually about how many people are looking at one event, what types of events are happening, what days, and so we have the ability maybe to eventually pull all these analytics together, for example, and people like Riot or ESL are going to want to know those types of things. Advertisers are going to want to know that so they can target. Maybe we do want to. I heard you guys talking about Coca-Cola and what they're doing with League. Maybe Coca-Cola says we want to buy a package of your analytics so we can figure out where the money's really going to go for viewers. So
We had
That's true.
another question of, do you want to be that hub that all of these organizers say like, oh, here's the tournaments as like the first priority of letting someone know on the scene so you can aggregate all of the information in one spot? Because like when League announced their tournament, the one that's going on right now, it was like almost 2 or 3 days before the event, and it's like
yeah.
unless you're like constantly refreshing the LOL esports site, you wouldn't have seen it, or like unless you saw like the coverage.
Yeah,
So
so um, there's kind of two. So there's two questions in there. I guess I'll say just the coverage portion. We actually discuss that all the time. How do we better improve getting stuff on the site? Like I didn't get that league tournament in there till this morning when I saw it on. And that's because we're 2 weeks old and I'm doing 19 different things right now. And I have another person coming on who's going to start managing that database to make sure that every single day there's this guy is a huge esports nut like myself, and so he's going to be able to dive in really,
So
really deep.
you're actually manually filling this database base?
So in the beginning, of course, that's how it
Okay.
started. But what's already been awesome is in 2 weeks, I've had 5 different event organizers, including as large as I won't say any names, but a main event organizer come to us and say, "How can we hook up and make sure that you have everything we want?" I had one of the platforms come to us and
That's
say,
sexy.
"We want to make sure that you have all of our platform, I mean broadcast platform, come to us and say, we want to make sure everything that's on our platform that is esports is in your guide." And so eventually people are going to come to us. And we had a World of Warcraft event that came to us on day 2 and said, we happen to be launching a World of Warcraft 3v3 tournament this weekend. I said, great, we'll get it up there. And since then, they're about the third or fourth community event across games. It's just straight up come to us and just send us an email, and we've been able to get it up there and help them get some coverage.
That's
awesome. There's
awesome.
a question from the audience. Does your company want to be known as a TV guide for esports related content?
So I would say that I compare us to TV Guide because TV Guide doesn't try to give you content. They just want you to have information. And I think that's what our goal is right now is we want to be the hub for information. Another example we use is kayak.com. Kayak is never going to sell you a hotel room, but they're going to tell you where all the hotel rooms are, right? We'll never be as spammy as they are. But the point being that when we kind of set that value proposition you mentioned at the beginning, our goal was that information is over here and people who want information is over here, and the faster and more optimized we can make that travel, the better. And it's better for both parties, and that's how you get the best value proposition is if both parties are at an advantage, not just one or the other.
I don't want to jump in
The
on anybody else. So
the only problem with this is I can't lose you guys in the cushions of my couch like I can a TV guide.
hold on. What kind of TV guide are you putting in your couch? Did you just
Dude,
oh,
you don't remember the like little
oh,
booklets that look
oh,
like Reader's
Right, we're
Digests?
of
talking
course.
about
Yeah.
interesting swag giveaway ideas at tournaments.
Oh my god. All right.
Here's your authentic esports TV guide.
That's right.
Wow.
Your couch.
Complete with terrible articles that nobody reads.
Oh my goodness.
And what about Sudoku?
And outdated information because it was printed before they made the change.
Oh my
Wow.
goodness. It's like I remember my TV guide was always on the channel 5, and it would just rotate constantly and tell you what was going on. And there was
Oh
Yeah.
no. Okay, so
that
there
was my
used to
TV.
be there was a
So,
printed publication every week.
Yeah, I remember it. My
Okay.
mom used to
and
always
Ellen, we're
used
kind
to
of
get our
dating ourselves a
notes.
little bit there. When I was in college, I had this. It was a cat on the armrest of my couch with a little pocket that hung over, so the remote could go in it, and the TV guy could slide in behind it.
Was it a real
And
cat?
no, it was
Yes.
Were they like Alan's cat behind
a sewn
walls?
pocket to the cat. But yeah, I mean, and you pull out the physical copy, and my dad would flip through and he'd get his highlighter out of the shows that he wanted to watch, and you'd know if there was something on his, you weren't going to get to watch it because
Oh, snap. That television hog.
that's right.
Um,
I have a question. So why did you choose to launch as a web presence versus an app?
ooh.
That's a great question. I think that as gamers, and I say gamers because not just esports, we spend a lot of time in front of our computers. I mean, I know I do, and that's where we're playing League of Legends and Counter Strike, etc. So, what better place to put people than when they're in game? Let's say they're watching a Twitch stream, and we have a Twitch streamer that goes, "Hey guys, check this out." They literally click the link right there and go to our guide. Okay. Mobile is certainly important, and I get that. But I think that as a primary base, until the games move away from that area, I don't see the necessity. You know, the games that are on mobile, there's been some attempts to do some esports things. I can't remember the name of that one MOBA that was really pushing on Twitch. They had advertisements of tournaments now, live, come
Oh,
check us
geez,
out.
spare
Um,
me. I'm gonna cry.
um, but I mean, that's of course that the negative side of or not sorry negative, but usually the failure of some brands in esports when they try to make it an esport as opposed to the community making it an esport. Until the community says we want esports on our phone, I think we're sitting at our computers or at the very least our PS3s and
No,
Xbox.
like
Hmm.
I'm thinking more of content consumption. I feel like content consumption now is happening a lot on the mobile space. I'm pretty sure there's a statistic somewhere where like Facebook could tell you like 40% of its traffic is consumed via mobile or some
Sure.
Hmm.
random traffic statistic like
Well, like I commute an hour to Toronto and an hour back, and it's like I'm on my phone.
right,
Yes.
right. See, are,
But this is one way that you can make push notifications easier.
right.
Like
Yeah, you get
because
the alert right on your phone.
right. Or
Yeah,
your
I mean,
iPad or
to kind of I guess to kind of put it all in perspective, there's lots of people in the mobile space, and there's going to be a lot of people doing awesome stuff in the mobile space. In it, I'm sure I'm not shocking anyone with something they never knew, but there's a lot of websites out there that aren't very good. Um,
Yes. We like your clean design for once.
and, and so, you know, we're actually filling a need for the people that, I mean, like I said, I use mobile a lot. I certainly do, but I also spend a number of hours every single day in front of my computer. And I don't want to reach over, pick up my iPhone, go like this to do something on my computer. I want to do something on my phone when I'm doing it on my iPhone. So
Right.
I think there's room for both. And that's because consumers they're not watching TV anymore. They're moving over to the computer, they're moving over to their phones. They're watching, you know, a TV show on a screen this big nowadays. So
Agreed. So I think for my personal final question, and then I'm gonna let someone else ask one more question, and we're gonna.
Sorry, I pulled it up on my phone, and it looks pretty good.
yeah, we,
Like
we made
kind
sure
of
that the
optimized
interface would
nicely.
at least be solid and easy, reasonably good to use for right now until we're able to get an actual mobile version of the site up there.
You know what? For 2 weeks, I can respect at least a mobile friendly and
Yeah,
mobile ready uh, website. Kudos to you for that. A lot of
because
people
don't get me
don't think of
wrong,
that
in
for some
the
reason.
beginning we
I'm adding
had
it to my home screen.
yeah, don't get me wrong, it popped up at one point in the early on in the stage, and half the screen you couldn't get to, and we're like, okay, it may be a website, but it's you still have to be able to see the whole site when you pop it up on a phone. So.
Absolutely.
as somebody who is dealing with responsive CSS design right now, oh, my heart goes out to you, man.
Okay.
Three buttons and they just appear on
So
the screen and be like, we need those 3 buttons.
so my last question comes down to, uh, okay. So is there a threshold? Can an organizer myself, a grassroots organizer, be on this site, or are you guys cutting it off at LCS, MLG, Budacrest, DreamHack?
Pull up our
What?
site right now. I guarantee you will find tournaments that don't even have cash prizes. They have in-game currency for prizes. You'll find tournaments that have a 50 euro pool. You'll have tournaments that are. We have a league for League of Legends, for example, right now that is running 4 days a week for I think 12 weeks, and it's called an amateur league. It is meant for amateurs, and so that's why I mentioned earlier we want to be able to
Oh,
differentiate between for people. There are some people that hey they only want to watch BlizzCon level LCS level tournaments, and that's cool.
Yes. So
And there's other
And they can
people that
filter that.
love seeing cool things like amateur scene stuff, right? Because it's oh maybe I could be that someday. I'm an aspiring pro player.
So you were saying we were talking about the filtering. I know, like you're saying that you weren't going to give that many filters. So how do you prevent your users from having information overload?
Yeah, and I mentioned those 18 events on Saturday. That's too many, right? For
Right.
most people, especially because it's going to scroll off the screen, even on a large monitor, for 3 or 4 pages worth. But that's kind of we're having discussions right now of what are those differentiating factors that people care about between events. And a good example that people said to us is, I want to know when this is a major event, and major is kind of a fluid term, but we all know CEVO and Counter Strike and BlizzCon and
Majors
DreamHack.
and minors, essentially.
Yeah,
Right?
I
Yeah.
want to at least know that. And we've heard people say, I want to at least know if this is going to affect the outcome of a major event. For example, all those Hearthstone events that aren't very big, however, they're giving points for people to be able to make it to BlizzCon. That still matters because if you win that, you can go to BlizzCon,
This
right?
kind of tingles
Mm.
me because this is kind of the possibilities are really kind of cool where you could go with something like this. I'm a kind of a diva in the sense that I kind of want to know who's playing in those tournaments. I don't know if that's something that can ever be done, but I'm
Yeah,
like
we're,
I
we're
want to
talking about that because I know I'm a fan of certain teams and certain players, and I
like yeah like
absolutely.
I only watch certain tournaments where my favorite. I'm a huge nationalist, so I follow wherever the Canadians go. So if my Canadian players, Massa, Hengelis, Scarlet, and them are playing, or Huck, I want to watch a tournament that's
Wow, I
playing at.
can't believe you almost left out Huck.
I can't leave out my diva Huck. I have
Well,
But you left out Sam,
as an honorary
uh,
Canadian, I can respect that because I'm just over the pond, as they say. We're basically Canadians.
basically.
basically.
Um, but yeah, I mean, our challenge is, of course, growing the ability to have information without information overload. And so I'm a big advocate of the idea that you never want to throw a bunch of features like Microsoft will do sometimes, and there's so many, and you don't even know what any of them do, and so you don't use any of them a lot of times. Windows 8 came out, and I went, oh my God, this is just too much. I'm just going to go into Word and write a document, right? Whereas there are some sites that are really good about going, here are 3 new things we put out, and I'm going to show you how they work because it's the first time here, and then we'll do 3 more later on. And so I think that we can pace that so users aren't overwhelmed.
Like the iPhone tips.
Yeah, I think that's a great. I think the iPhone tips was a great innovation for them. I
Hmm.
read them every time they pop up. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, that's cool. So I'm gonna leave this to if any like my hosts have any last questions before we let our guest go.
I'm just excited to see how it develops.
I am too. Actually, I'm gonna submit and get our our guys to submit our tournaments onto this site. I'm very
Awesome.
fascinated.
Do you have a
Uh,
form for submitting, like a certain way of like title, price pool,
r-
dates,
right now,
time?
it seems to be you just send in an email.
Yeah, if you look at the site, because we wanted to spend time on the most important features for most users, which is obviously the event for and the filters. Right now, it's simply a drop down that has an email address and what you need to include. Certainly, we want to be able to move into a form so you can just kind of fill it in. But then we even talked about we don't want to restrict people. Let's say Drekken has a season of tournaments. He's like, I'm not entering every single event in this form. I'm sending you an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Yes.
So definitely a great example of a improvement we'll certainly want to have for, hey, I just have my own community event. It's my first one. I don't even know what you want, but there's this nice little web form where I can just plug in title and sport, etc.
I'm gonna send you an Excel spreadsheet.
Love, love it
That's what's happening. I'm sending you an Excel.
because then I can just upload it. So
That's what's going on. What about yourself, Alan? Anything?
no, it's an exciting project. I think you have the right mindset taking it forward for sure.
I think that's what I
Uh,
love about this show is that we get to meet really awesome people doing really cool things.
oh, thanks, guys.
yeah.
Well, we're hoping. I don't like to use the word hope because hope implies that you might do it.
Mm.
We're really going to focus on the fact that esports is a has a wide amount of opportunity for infrastructure. I mean, there isn't a lot of it out there, and so by finding one that we think can really add value to the fan, and they've been saying it, they've been saying thank you, we love this, we're really excited about it. Then we can just continue to improve the offering as opposed to having to fight with 19 other people. Like if we became an event producer and had to fight for someone pay attention to us because there's already people doing that really, really well. So
Mhm.
trying to fill a spot where maybe it isn't quite perfect yet.
Right.
Yeah,
All right, so perfect.
awesome.
So I want to give a great shout out to you, Marty, for coming on to our show. Really
Anytime.
good to have you and showing off Follow Esports. Where can they find you?
Followesports.com. We're also on Twitter at followesportsgg because some random guy has follow esports and hasn't posted on it in 2 years. So that one's there. I'm sure when we
Let's
make
all
it
go
big,
report it for spam.
when we get big, he's going to send us an email and say, "I'll give it to you for five hundred thousand
That's
dollars."
100% what's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing on Facebook. Follow esports GG, and we're really trying. What's really exciting for us is when people come and say, "Hey, I want to tell you all about this event you missed," so they can get up there, and so we add it. Or this other community, the Warcraft 3 guys came to us and said that's starting to bud again, and the Team Fortress 2 guys came out to
I was
us.
gonna
Same
say that I
thing.
saw that you guys have Warcraft 3 on the filter, and I am a big Warcraft 3 fan. But I clicked on it, and then a cat popped up, and I was like,
Yeah, we're just starting to get that in there. In fact, I'm talking with the guy who's one of the main organizers, and we're making sure we have it accurate before we. I don't want to put information out there that leads you to a dead link or something like that.
Mhm.
So,
"It's a cat,
um,
cute cat though, mind you." But it's like,
yeah, the cats are pretty cute. But ultimately, I guess I would just say is bring the feedback. We love that. That's how we can make sure whatever we put on the site is really what you people want out there. So,
all right, so perfect, awesome, guys. So let's move on to the final thoughts. Thank you once again, Marty, for coming on out.
thanks everyone.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks, Marty.
Appreciate it.
All right. So, final thoughts, guys. Final thoughts. Let's discuss before as we wrap up the show. Let's start from the beginning. What are we talking about?
Sorry from the bottom.
Let's start. No,
Over here.
It was you started with the Elite Series, but I also
That's.
wanted to say I listened to you on the morning show.
Oh, did you listen to us?
Yeah, it
That's
was really cool. Grandpa Esports gave the
uh,
lowdown on like all these things.
the morning show was a lot of fun, actually. That was. I didn't. I got asked to do it, and I'm starting to get into this habit of doing shows, I guess, and I never thought I was going to do any show. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I thought it was a great topic to discuss. I still 100% believe that regional tournaments are the answer, but we'll see. I think
Mhm.
we focus too much on international and not enough on regional, but that's a whole different story. Alan, you did listen
Amen,
to my
brother.
show. I don't think you listened to the show. You need
No,
to.
I didn't know it was on, man.
Oh,
I'm in Oregon, man.
I don't know what that means. Is that like a time zone difference?
It's a time zone difference
Oh,
thing.
is it? Oh, okay. So it was still morning for you. It was noon.
It probably was actually morning.
11:59, guys. So the Elite Series is coming up.
Yep, Elite Series. So not really much for the final thought, but yeah, Elite Series is coming up this weekend. Um,
Hunter and Lucas's.
Hunters and Lucas.
Will
That's
you post the information, or is it been posted on ES Champ's
oh,
website? And will it be posted on Follow Esports?
actually, will I probably get Delk or Tamir to fulfill that, and they will submit it to Follow Esports. I like the site. I think you know what it is. Even if it doesn't take off, it's beautiful. So I think that's the most important thing. I like.
I just realized another filter that they should have.
Yes.
Location.
I think we didn't we say regional. I'm pretty sure we
I
said
don't
region.
know. Like I mean,
Yeah,
like
we did.
if
Yeah.
it's like I said, like doing it by like North America, Europe, South Korea, but like really targeted like Toronto.
I don't think I think
Uh,
you'd have to be really because remember a lot of tournaments are online as opposed to just are like offline.
Daddy Jackpot's on tournaments.
Plus, listen, I am a regional tournament. I'm a regional tournament organizer, and that's my thing. So it's one of those things where I'd love, someone like, but I don't know. Do the audiences even really care? Do they care if a tournament's in Toronto?
Or maybe they
Like,
don't know about it.
it's
Remember when we did Tourcraft in November and the thread was like, "Oh my god, I didn't know this
oh
was
yeah,
happening. I
that's
didn't know
the
this was happening."
That's that okay, but that's for participants. Like players care, like people who want to play specifically. I think there's a healthy amount of people who are like, I don't really want to play the game. I just like watching it,
Sure.
and they don't really. I don't think they particularly care where a tournament happens. They just care who is going to be at that tournament.
Yeah.
And you have people who are players who are like, I want to play a tournament on East Coast because it costs me less to get there.
Yeah.
So it's obviously he's gonna have to do a bit of data mining on his audience and figure out if they actually care about something like that. But you jumped ahead in my final thoughts. Heroes of the Storm release. Final thoughts, Nav. Might as well since you jumped the gun.
Well, right now they have StarCraft characters, Diablo, Warcraft, World of Warcraft, and I'm hoping that, like, yeah, once Overwatch is out, or like the beta of it at least, that they integrate like one or two Overwatch characters.
Really?
They said they will.
Oh, that's
Of
awesome.
course they will. Blizzard won't let that IP run rampant without getting some
hmm
love.
Like as they develop their games and release more things, like adding to the heroes pool would be kind of cool.
I'm over adding to heroes. But anyways, Alan,
You're
final
just
thoughts.
not even hype.
I think the game's fun. I think it's going to be an interesting launch. I don't think it's going to have that fantastic a market share right out the bat, but 2 years down the road, it could really, really, really compete. Um, and Heroes of the Dorm this weekend, so that could be fun, right?
If you can watch it, if you don't
If you
live in
can watch
America,
it.
if you don't live in
We'll
Yeah,
America,
see.
sorry, Canadians.
yep, always locked into the storm. Whether that's Netflix or something else, we're always locked out. Always locked out. But yeah, final thoughts for myself. Heroes of the Storm, and on its release, thought it was interesting that Blizzard even announced the release and just didn't just flip the switch somewhere and say, "Oh, we're live." I think
I think
it's
Heroes of the Dorm was like the build up to it.
is it though? No,
Kind of. Because
yeah,
like it got people's attention.
yeah,
Oh
it did,
yeah,
I guess.
had a
And then
lot of
it's like
teams sign up.
boom, just drop the release date.
Heroes of the Storm being released, giving a release date. I'm most surprised that there isn't a wipe. That surprises me the most because then you have this point where people in beta get ahead of people who just jump in. But obviously, that was a Blizzard decision. Don't necessarily agree with it.
Well, what
Uh,
would I mean? How would they? I know this is final thoughts, but just to poke on that, like, how would they handle the whole money
They like they've done
issue?
anything. They've always just refunded it,
Skins,
just like
yeah.
they've refunded that money back into your Blizzard wallet. Just like they did
Uh,
that with Hearthstone. I don't know why they wouldn't do that with Heroes. That's why I'm surprised. In Heroes, when
yeah,
Hearthstone was launched, they wiped everything and said you just have to buy. They give you all the money, like they give you the exact money you spent on your chests or whatever, and it goes to you in your Blizzard wallet, and you can spend it on Hearthstone. You can spend it on whatever you want, but you get all
right.
the money that you put into the game, right?
Well, I'm trying because I think there's a little bit more to gain through spending money on Heroes of the Storm than there was on Hearthstone, which I know doesn't make any sense,
I would say that makes absolutely no sense. Your
like
G factor
I
is just through the roof for Hearthstone. But this is final thoughts, and we can't go into brand
yeah
thoughts.
yeah.
Coca-Cola. Uh, Alan, final thoughts on Coca-Cola and esports.
Glad they're back. I would like to see them get more involved with activating.
I thought so
I,
too. That's an interesting.
and I would like to see them do more, be more involved like Red Bull is
hmm
Mm,
than just sit on the sidelines and maybe have a really cool like Coke bottle booth at Worlds or the Midseason Invitational in Tallahassee, Florida, of all places. Um, so like I just wanted to see more from them. I think they're really just kind of coasting.
Now, final thoughts on Coca-Cola back in esports.
I think it's cool. Let's see what MSI will bring, and hopefully it will result in a continuous partnership. Maybe Pepsi will jump in. We'll see.
I can agree. So, with final thoughts on myself, I have to say I'm interested, especially like what you said, Alan. Activation. I'd like to see a really cool Coke activation. I just realized that I don't see you don't see a lot of like you do see a lot of endemic sponsor in activations with like Pizza GG and Papa John's and all them. But I'd like to see what a Coke activation might look like in esports. I
You know what I saw today? I saw a Taco Bell ad with Swiftdoor.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
What?
on Twitch.
Oh, okay. I meant like on
Oh.
TV or.
No, it was an actual advertisement. It wasn't like on his stream or
No,
anything
it's
like
like a
that.
Twitch ad, right?
Yeah, it was a Twitch ad, but
Like,
it was Swiftdoor doing a Taco Bell commercial. It was really interesting.
Well, like I think that's happening a lot. Like we see Kingston
we saw Roddy
HyperX.
with like Intel.
Yeah, yeah, like Intel, the Hyper Kingston X thing with the EG guys. I think that's a lot, but I'd like to see what Coke can do. I feel like Coke can, like, they have the power, right? They have the power to make really sexy content in terms of
You're like, share a Coke with Santorin.
like I don't know, like they could come up with some of the really cool things. Um,
Well, any like Coke commercial that we've seen done, you could do that with an esports feel.
Right, like
Custom Coke. Yeah.
TSM and CLG, like sharing cokes or like
Yes.
stuff like that.
Like
I,
at
Like
the end of the
to
day, we're
give
still friends.
yeah, they could do like a whole like a song montage of sharing a Coke and da, 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 and then passing Cokes amongst all the teams in the LCS. Like something like that, I think would be really cool to see. As much as like commercials can be boring, I think a really good activated content can be a lot fun to watch. Like I think like Super Bowl commercials are really fun to watch,
Yeah.
right,
and I think that Coke has the opportunity to make fun esports Super Bowl commercials, quote unquote. Like I put that very loosely, but I think a lot of fun can come from that.
Hmm.
All right. So, final thoughts on our guest here, Follow Esports, Nav.
After 2 weeks of launching, he's gotten a lot of good feedback, and I think it will just make Follow Esports that much better. But for what it is right now, it's clean. It gives you the information, just what you need, and I think it'll help people be on top of their esports.
Alan, final
I'm
thoughts.
I'm excited to see how they monetize. Because I think that's going to be what really pushes them, of course, pushes them over to the next level. But how they do it is going to be really interesting.
That's a really good point. So my final thoughts, particularly on Follow Esports, is design. I really do like that they have a design philosophy and they have a lean startup philosophy. I think those two things make like are my favorite. I love the lean startup philosophy. Obviously, some people might say that's a whole fad and trend in Silicon Valley, but I think there's some huge truth to the minimum viable product mantra. I think the whole clean design mantra is something that's good. I feel that they have a really good focus on.
Yes,
They have a
be good at
focus.
one thing.
Yeah, and I like that. I think that's rare in a world where everyone is trying to do everything at once and try to be the everything to everybody. And I
Right,
think that Marty seems like he's got this sense of this is what we want to do and this is who we want to do it for. No, we don't want to do gaming. Yes, we want to do esports.
Yes.
And I think that kind of direction is healthy for any project, whether it's business or personal or anything. It's a clear, concise objective and goal.
Hmm.
And I think
Esports
that
can be draining, so
oh my
having
god, tell
one
me
clear
about it.
objective is
Tell
it'll
me
still be
about it.
draining, but
No,
at
it's
least it's
super
focused.
draining. And in my earlier years, I made that big mistake too of like, I want to do this, this, and this, and this, and this, and it took a while to figure out, okay, this is what we want to do. So
I still suffer from this.
it's hard because you see so many bright lights in esports. You're like, oh, we could do this. And, what if we do this? What if we? And I fall for it. I fall for that trap all the time, like all the time. It took me a good 2 years for me to like, all right, you know what? Maybe I should just write these ideas down and not try to pursue them at the same time. So kudos to Marty and his team to keeping a focus on what they do, and I hope they can maintain that in the growth because I think I'm I don't get in love with things, but I think I have a little bit of a tingle. Like
Are you in like?
I would take this site out on a date where I would buy it some dinner, and we would hang out for a bit. But if it started changing, man, girl, I'll drop it like it's hot. Like that's it. All right, so I would go on a date. I would go on a date on this site, right? That's it, and that's a good step for me. I don't really take these sites out very much. Well,
Yeah,
I think it's a compliment within itself. Uh,
they should feel privileged.
okay. I'm a bit of a snob, right? When it comes to like products and brands and stuff like that. I
And
don't.
your Canadian players.
And my Canadian. No, I am a snob when it comes to like
Sorry, I am
but
too. Natural.
when I choose a brand to get behind, I am dedicatedly loyal. Like
Hmm.
I only buy at Starbucks. I'll go miles for a Starbucks, right? It's like one of those
Yeah,
things
you
that
got upset when I brought you aroma.
I was like, what is this?
Aren't you supposed to be addicted to Tim Hortons?
Oh
What?
my god,
Oh, Tim Hortons is horrible.
that sludge is gross. Like
God,
It's perfect slice.
I feel like all the Americans are being lied to
it's
about
Actually, it's
Canadians.
owned by Burger King now.
it's
Oh,
like
that explains it.
Tim Hortons coffee is like if you take in the wintertime that sludge that gets stuck up in the wheel in your car, it's like you take that and you melt it and you pour it in a cup.
See, that's how
So
I feel about Starbucks.
oh, okay. Well, this conversation's done. So, oh my god, I'm gonna shank you out. Oh, sorry. So, guys, excellent. We've reached another episode of the Competitive Edge. I mean, it's not competitive. Sorry. Oh my god, the Any Key. Wow, I read the wrong teleprompter. Episode of the Any Key, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I've been joined here with my host, Alan LaFleur. Alan, where can I find you?
On Twitter at LaFleur Allen, on esportscareer.org, soon on esportsbusiness.com again. And in the next issue of 1337 magazine.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Well,
That's Leap Mag. All right.
man, for all those people who are not uninitiated can give away those their esports or their gamer badges because they have no clue what that is. And joined here by Nav. Where can we find you, Nav?
At NavNeedR on Twitter. And that's pretty much it. Guys, follow Alan because he's like one follower away from 900.
Oh,
But
Oh,
see.
I'm
I,
gonna go and follow him right now, so he's stuck at 899.
if you currently are following Alan, you need to unfollow him right
Don't do
now.
that, guys. This has been a struggle.
Let the struggle continue and let it be real. Because if you're following Alan, you need to unfollow him right now. We need to keep him down, and then you need to turn and you need to make sure you follow me. That's what needs to really happen. So Nav, are you anywhere else? So Twitter, Facebook,
I'm typically NavNeedR
Snip
on
Sheet.
things, but yeah, find me on Twitter, connect with me there.
All right, so guys, I'm Draconis. Follow me everywhere on everything. Twitter, Facebook are my main places. I have started posting to Instagram. All of it is Draconis at Draconis. I tried once to change my gamer tag and I realized that didn't work, so I went back to at Draconis. So you will always find me at that brand name across all forums and platforms, even the most obscure platform like Plays.tv. I am on that too, which is the weirdest thing. Probably maybe get someone on there to talk about. Come on our show. That'd be really exciting now that I think about it. You guys have been watching The Any Key. We are here every week, Tuesday at 8 p.m. This is the show where you get to talk. We get to have discussions about esports news and culture and discover a little bit of new interesting stuff. So, guys, thank you once again for watching. Don't forget to like, and if you're watching the VOD, subscribe on the YouTube. Um, Follow ES Champ, fantastic organization of which I am a part of, and many others, where we do our awesome esports. Follow at ES Champ, that's ESCHAMP, on Twitter, Facebook, and finally YouTube and Twitter all consistently. ES Champ, finally
Yay!
yeah, get that
I have
branding.
confetti here. Bust it out for you.
Oh my god, thank you. Finally getting that branding back in line. Oh my gosh. Thank you guys. Make sure you follow ESChamp on all those platforms. Keep up to date on all the our esports news, and be sure to go to eschamp.com/sign up to join our newsletter and get activated into our community. I'm going to start doing giveaways soon. AMD, hint hint, wink wink. So be sure to do that, guys. Thank you again for an awesome show. Don't forget to spray and neuter your cats. Good night.